The Trump administration is narrowing in on who has access to college discounts and waivers. They are challenging laws in Kentucky, Minnesota, also Texas that allow undocumented students to pay the price of in-state residents, which more often than not is half of what out-of-state students have to pay. Undocumented students make up just under 2% of all students enrolled in higher education here in America. It's just over about 400,000 students. The Justice Department stating tuition laws unfairly benefit foreigners while harming legal American residents. Florida and Texas being the most recent states to eliminate access to in-state tuition eligibility for undocumented students. And earlier this month, Kentucky's Attorney General also siding with the Trump administration on this, stating it should comply with the federal government's immigration policy. Here to help me break this down is immigration attorney and former New York Supreme Court attorney, Mackenzie Joy Brennan. Mackenzie, welcome to the show. Thanks so much.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
So the White House argument here is, why should American families have to pay, in some instances, double the tuition for their kids to attend college out of state when non-citizens get to pay a fraction of that price? How solid is that case for the White House, you think?
Sure, and that would be concerning if that were the case. But when these policies went into action initially, a lot of them were put into action in red states and states where people had these concerns. And so there were really careful measures to ensure that people who were in this country illegally did not get any special benefits. So Texas, for example, the way that they did it was there's no special treatment for in-state people who are immigrants or children of immigrants who didn't come in illegally or didn't come in legally. Everybody gets the same in-state treatment. So there's no special treatment if you're in-state and an immigrant. You get the same treatment as kids who grew up here who are citizens. So the preferential treatment is a tough argument to make just on the facts of it.
And so it doesn't financially favor illegal students over American students?
Correct, unless you're looking at an in-state illegal student versus an out-of-state citizen. But obviously, we know that those preferential treatment policies for in-state students apply across the board. So there's really no special selection for in-state students who are immigrants.
Let me break down some of these numbers here, because as I mentioned off the top, there are just north of 400,000 undocumented students in college right now. What of the 120,000 of those who are DACA recipients? I mean, as Dreamers, do they have more protections than somebody, who just came here within the last few years and wants to attend school?
Yeah, so these policies are targeted to folks who really don't know any other country except for the U.S., who probably came here as children, maybe their parents brought them over. And so those are the Dreamers that we remember under the Obama administration. And there have been so many challenges to the DACA policies over the years, and those challenges are still wending their way through court. And essentially where they've been left is that program will expire. There was a cutoff date. And so anybody who made it in before the cutoff date is allowed to finish their education under the DACA policies. So no more folks would be swept into that. I think those lawsuits were moving too slowly for the Trump administration's preference. So they tried to do away with everything earlier this year with an executive order. The executive orders don't really have that kind of authority to bind states under their own power. I mean, these are states making up rules for their own educational institutions. So now we see the Trump administration trying to do the same thing through lawsuits against the states. And when it's been red state governments, it sounds like they have capitulated pretty quickly to doing away with this policy.
Texas unraveled this in a matter of 6 hours, I think, last month. How much pushback do you see coming from the schools on this? Because obviously higher enrollment numbers obviously benefit American universities in the states they reside in. So what kind of pushback do you see coming from schools, especially during a time when we're seeing several of them in the White House's crosshairs?
Absolutely. There's been a real concentrated attack on higher education in general. The tough part of that is that it does kind of diffuse what they're able to pay attention to when things are coming at them from so many angles. These are policies that were really popular in communities. When they were passed, a lot of them on a state and local level were bipartisan, even in Texas, because You know, if you think about actually on the ground, everybody benefits. The school gets in-state tuition dollars, and enrollment has been down across the board in the last couple of years. So tuition is tuition, even if it's in-state, it beats nothing. So they will face funding loss. Obviously, state workforces need educated people. That tends to be a good thing. And then the young people themselves. So I think in terms of community response, we're going to see a lot of negative, but it's hard to know how concentrated the fights can be when so many things are going on.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.